Welcome to the App Garden Travel Tracker training. This course was created for the approver and will step you through all the functions in the travel tracker that an approver will need to approve a trip. There are several different types of approvers: location, athletic, funding, and other approvers. This course will cover the basics of approving a trip. Additional functions that some approvers can perform will be covered in additional training. We will start the course by giving you a brief overview of the travel tracker and highlighting the benefits. We will present in-depth videos that will show you how to approve trips and use the trip estimator. We will show you how to view trips and how to use the calendar. We will talk about emails and how to get additional help. When you have completed this training, you should be able to jump right in and start approving trips using the App Garden Travel Tracker. We are very happy that you have decided to implement our system in your district. The Travel Tracker is a paperless, internet-based application which makes scheduling trips easier and more efficient. Before we start with the training, let's talk about the overall flow. This flow chart demonstrates the overall process of how the trips will flow through the Travel Tracker system. The process starts when a teacher, principal, or athletic director creates a request for a trip. The request is sent electronically to the school for approval. This could be a principal or an assistant principal. If there is any special funding, for example, exceptional children or Title I, the request is forwarded to them for approval. If the trip requires board approval, for example, if it is an out-of-state trip, it is forwarded to the central office personnel who is responsible for approving that. Everybody who needs to be in the loop is notified and required to approve the trip. If you are coming from a current paper process, you will be thrilled to know that you can follow the trip request through the whole approval process and see at any point where the request is. Once the trip is approved, the requester is notified and the trip request is forwarded to the person who will assign the vehicles. The trip requester will be notified what vehicles have been assigned. Child nutrition is notified if students are out during lunch or if they need to provide packed lunches. Bookkeepers are also kept in the loop and are notified if they need to provide payments for things like admission for trips, and it is a much more efficient process for them to pay for the trips. The system automates the entire invoicing process and provides great reports on trip costs. Automating this process makes everybody's job easier and provides great visibility for trips. We think you will love the Travel Tracker as much as our other customers do. Let's take a minute to talk about the benefits that the Travel Tracker application has for the approver. The Travel Tracker is a paperless, internet-based application, which means that you can access it anywhere at any time. It provides you with the ability to track the approval and vehicle assignment process every step of the way. The software has a built-in trip estimator that takes into account mileage, gasoline, driver, and substitute teacher costs to give you a good estimate of the cost of the trip and the cost per student. You have access to a calendar that shows all the trips that are scheduled across the entire district, as well as all the trips that are scheduled at a school for any particular day. This trip visibility helps you make better approval decisions. In this section, we will introduce you to the main screens. We will now introduce you to the screens that you will see when you sign into the Travel Tracker as an approver. When you are signed in as an approver, you have the main, trip approval, and calendar tabs. Some approvers will also have a reports tab. Down the left-hand side are the options for the tab that you are on. For example, the options for the main tab are Submit a Request, Your Trip Requests, Your Assignments, and Vehicle Mileage Not Entered. On this tab, you also have access to the End User Guide, the End User Quick Reference, and an Approver's Quick Reference that is specific to the type of approver that you are. When you click on any of these links, they will open in a new window. The End User Guide that can be accessed from this tab will give you the information that you need to use the above options. The course, Travel Tracker Training for the Teacher, would also be very helpful to help familiarize you with these options. When you sign in as an approver, you will default to the Trip Approval tab. All approvers will have Waiting on My Trip Approval as the first option on this tab. Depending on the type of approver that you are, you may have other options on this tab. This training will deal with approving trip requests. The Travel Tracker makes scheduling and approving a field trip very simple. In this video, we will step you through the process of approving a trip. There are two ways to access trips that are waiting on your approval. The first is through the email that you will receive when a user requests a trip that needs your approval. In the email that you receive, there will be a link listed. When you click on the link, you can sign in and access the trip needing approval immediately. The second way is to access trips needing approval using the menus on the system. If you are an approver, when you sign into the Travel Tracker, the first screen you will see is the Waiting on My Trip Approval option under the Trip Approval tab. You have several options for sorting the trips. The default is to list trips from this day forward and to list the trips in pickup date order. Therefore, the trips occurring the soonest are listed first. As you look at the listing of trips, the first column will tell you who the requesting school and person is and the date it was submitted. The next column will tell you the trip number, who the next approver is, and how many students and adults are going on the trip. The third column will list out the pickup and return date and time. The next column will tell you the type of trip and where it is scheduled for. If funding approval is required, the funding approver will be listed here. The fifth column will tell you the number and type of vehicle and who the vehicle owner for that location is. There will not be any information in the vehicle assignment column because a vehicle cannot be assigned until the trip is approved. Find the trip that you want to approve and click anywhere on that line to open up the trip request. We are looking at a trip request signed on as a location approver. Location approvers can make changes to the information in the trip request. Other approvers cannot. As you scroll through the trip request, you will see all the information that was filled in by the trip requester about the trip. You will want to review this information and make sure that it is all correct and acceptable to you before you approve the trip. If your district requires a funding source and the funding budget code is not filled in by the trip requester, you may be required to provide a funding budget code before approving the trip. Your district can designate who must fill in the funding code. It could be the first level approver, second level approver, or the funding approver. If you try to submit the trip request and you are required to enter the budget code, you will get an error message. Scroll to the bottom of the trip request to get to the approval section. This trip is waiting for the location level approval. If the trip requires additional approval after the location approval, it will be routed to the next approver. In this example, the trip request will be routed to the funding approver. If you would like to make any comments about the trip that the trip requester or the other approvers will see, fill that into the comment section. If you are going to deny a trip, you will want to add a comment about why the trip was denied. If more information is needed before the trip can be approved, add the comments to the comment section and then submit without selecting an approver decision. This will create a comments icon that will be displayed on the Waiting on My Trip Approval screen, and it will be seen by the trip requester on the Your Trip Request screen. Select either Approved or Denied. Your decision, name, and the decision date will automatically be filled in. If you would like a printed copy of the trip request, click on Print before clicking on Submit. When you click on Print, a new window or tab will open with a printable version of the trip request. Select your printer and click on Print. Click on Submit to complete your approval. The following video will demonstrate how to use the Trip Estimator to get the estimated cost for a trip and the cost per student. The Trip Estimator is a very helpful tool that helps you decide whether or not to approve a trip based on cost. After you open a trip request that is waiting on your approval, scroll down through the trip information until you get to the Trip Estimator. The Trip Estimator section is before the Approval section. Click on the triangle to expand the Trip Estimator section. The trip estimator provides an estimate based on the information entered in the trip request, as well as information that's been determined by your district. For example, the number of vehicles, the round-trip miles, and the number of students are from the trip request form. The cost per mile and the fuel cost are determined by your district. There are several fields that can be edited by the trip requester, the location approver, and the funding approver. The venue cost per student, as well as the amount paid by the student, can be filled in. Let's put in a venue cost per student of $5. You can also fill in driver hours, select a driver rate, which is determined by your district, indicate if a substitute teacher is needed, and then add in other costs. Let's say that we will need one substitute. When you click on Compute, this will give you an estimated cost for the trip. For this trip, the estimated total cost of the trip is $506.52, and the estimated cost per student is $25.33. Click on Print Trip Estimate Only to print a copy of the trip estimator. The estimated cost is for planning purposes only. The actual cost of the trip may vary. Costs such as the driver costs and/or substitute costs may not be billed through your system depending on how your district invoices, but will provide approvers with an overall estimate of all costs involved. This estimate gives approvers the information that they need to make an informed decision when they approve a trip. The next video will demonstrate how you can view trips and see where they are at in the approval process. The Trip Inquiry screen under the Trip Approval tab provides a quick and easy way to search and view trips. This screen gives you multiple options to filter and sort trips. For a field that has a drop-down arrow, click on the arrow and click on your selection. Let's click on the drop-down arrow for requesting location and select West Brunswick High, and then let's select a trip type of field trip. Click on the Apply Filters button. We are now viewing all the field trips for West Brunswick High. Before we do another search, let's click on the Clear Reset button to clear out all of our previous filters. It is very easy to see where a trip is at in the approval process. If you click on the drop-down arrow for status, you can select the status that you are interested in. For example, if you want to see all the trips at your school that are waiting on funding approval, select your school from the drop-down list and then select Funding Approval from the drop-down list for status. Click on Apply Filters. As you can see, we have 2 trips waiting on funding source approval. Click on the Clear Reset button before you do another search. There is an informational eye next to Funding Approver and Destination. If you roll your mouse over the informational eye, you get additional information on how to fill out those fields. For example, for the destination, the informational eye tells us to type the destination name or part of the destination name. Let's try this. Let's say that we are looking for any trips that are going to a museum. Type museum into the destination field and then click on Apply Filters. We can see that there are 2 field trips to a museum. Click on the Clear Reset button before you do another search. If we want to see trips for a date range, we can do this by using the Start and End Date filters. Select the dates that you are interested in and then click on Apply Filters. Let's select from February 5th to February 7th. Only dates that have trips scheduled will be listed. click on Apply Filters. This now gives us all the trips in the date range from February 5th to February 7th. The default is to see the trips in a standard format. If you would like a more detailed view, click on the button for Detailed Trip Listing. As you can see, the Trip Inquiry screen gives you the ability to filter and search for trips in a lot of ways. If you would like to print out your results, click on the Print button. The following video will show you how to use the district-wide calendar. The calendar can be viewed by vehicle assignment, by trips, or by drivers if you have the authority. Since the calendar is district-wide, it allows users to look ahead and determine potential dates for scheduling trips. To access the calendar, click on the Calendar tab. When you click on the Vehicle Calendar option, you will see the trips listed on the calendar by vehicle number. Note that the current day is in a contrasting color. The vehicle calendar can be sorted by month, requesting location, vehicle location, vehicle type, trip type, zone, and vehicle number by clicking on the drop-down arrows. For example, if you want to see athletic trips for your location, click on the drop-down arrow for location and select your school, and then click on the drop-down arrow for trip type and select athletic. This is showing us all the athletic trips for West Brunswick High. For users who have access to schedule vehicles, they can click on the individual date icons to get a daily vehicle schedule for that date that can be printed out. For example, by clicking on 17, we will get the daily vehicle schedule for February 17th that we can print out. To view the trip calendar, click on the Trip Calendar option. This calendar can be sorted by month, school, trip type, and zone by clicking on the drop-down arrows. Trips that are in orange are pending trips. Trips that are in blue have been approved. If there are more trips than can be seen on a particular day, there will be a scroll bar for that day that you will need to scroll to see all the trips. To view the driver calendar, click on the Driver Calendar option. This calendar can be sorted by month, requesting location, vehicle type, trip type, driver name, and zone by clicking on the drop-down arrows. On any of the three calendars, if you hover over the trip with your mouse, detailed information about the trip will be displayed. In order to keep everybody informed, the Travel Tracker sends emails. The emails contain the information about the trip as well as a link that can be clicked on to open up the trip request in the Travel Tracker application. For example, the person who schedules a trip will receive an email when the trip has been approved, when a vehicle has been assigned, and when mileage needs to be entered. Approvers receive an email when a trip has been scheduled that requires their approval. They will also receive an email when a trip has been rescheduled or canceled. Vehicle owners will receive an email when a trip has been approved and needs a vehicle assigned. Child Nutrition receives an email to inform them that children will be away from school during the lunch hour and if bag lunches are required. This is an example of an email that an approver would receive to inform them that a trip has been scheduled that requires their approval. You can click on the link to open the trip request in the Travel Tracker, or you will see this trip request listed in the Travel Tracker application under the Approvers tab under the option of Waiting on My Approval. We are very confident that you will love the Travel Tracker. However, if you ever have an issue or have a suggestion for future enhancements, we want to hear from you. We have provided a link on our website that will take you directly to all of our support features. The following video will demonstrate the support features that are available in the Travel Tracker. When you are signed into the Travel Tracker, you will see the link for support and training under your user ID in the upper right-hand corner. When you click on the link, it takes you to our Travel Tracker support page. Our company loves to provide excellent support to our customers, so we have several ways that you can request support. You can create a support ticket. To create a support ticket, click on Create a Support Ticket. Please complete the form with as much information as possible so that the person who is helping you will have all the information they need to solve the problem. When you submit a support ticket, you will be contacted by a person on our support desk who will take you through the steps to solve the problem. You can visit our support forum by clicking on Support Forum. You will need to sign up using your email the first time that you access this site and create a password. Please note that this is not your travel tracker user ID and password. The support portal gives you access to a wealth of information and articles to help you get the most out of the travel tracker software. You can also live chat. If this is available, this will show in the bottom right corner of your screen. Click on the live chat icon to start a chat session with one of our agents. You also have access to training videos in a Vimeo or YouTube format. When you click on the links for the videos, a new Internet tab will open with a document listing out all of the available videos. Click on the video name or link to start the video. Thank you for participating in the Travel Tracker training.